let's keep reading Pastor MacArthur. There are a lot of people today, he says, who would like to believe that Christians and Jews today have a lot in common. But those Jews who only adhere to Judaism in its current forms, even the form of Judaism that existed in the time of our Lord, and let me interject and say that Judaism in the time of Yeshua's day wasn't necessarily monolithic, meaning there wasn't really one Judaism. I know we kind of like to think of that there's Judaism and there's Christianity, but if you stop and think from a common sense perspective, just like there isn't really one Christianity today, there are kind of forms of Christianity that we could almost say that there are Christianities, plural, today, the various denominations and interpretations that form the multiple Christianities, so that there is a multiplicity of Christianity. It's kind of it has all of its facets. It's multifaceted religion. The same was true in Judaism, although probably not as much as Christianity is today. But it's not inaccurate to think of Judaism in the first century in terms of Judaisms, plural. So that would be my correction to Pastor MacArthur's assessment here. But he goes on to say that in regards to let's just borrow his terminology, Judaism, they have no common religious ground and no common spiritual ground with true Christians. And again, this is quite a harsh assessment of it's harsher than I would treat the Judaisms of the first century. Pastor MacArthur's stance on this, one almost gets the impression that he has an axe to grind against Judaism at times when you listen to his commentaries. He goes on to say, and this is in bold part, this is my own modification of his sermon: any form of Judaism without Jesus Christ is a false religion. And he continues by saying it is empty, bankrupt, damning. It might as well be Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, or Atheism. Right? Speaking of any religion that doesn't have Jesus, there's really nothing beneficial about it. That's a very harsh stance. I'm not ready to take that stance myself, even when it comes to some of those other religions that he mentions, Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, or Atheism. Although I probably naturally be more harsh towards those other religions simply because they are not even remotely biblical, right? Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, or Atheism, they aren't even compatible with the worldview that is presented in the Bible through the lens of historic Israel's Judaisms, right? Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, or Atheism, those are obviously competitive religions. But Pastor MacArthur is going to lump those in with Judaism if Judaism is lacking Yeshua. And that's where I said I'm going to be a little more forgiving to biblical Judaism. In fact, in my own comments, I say I can agree in part with this bolded summary sentence. I can't remember if the bolded part there is John MacArthur or if I did that myself. I'll have to go back and look at his commentary again, the source, to see if I copied the bold straight over. I think I added the bolded part. But in conclusion to tonight's study, we'll pick this up again next week. What we're beginning to see is that Pastor John MacArthur is going to begin to paint a picture of the Judaism in Jesus' day that was seriously bankrupt, to the point that Jesus had to bring not a reboot of the old source material, but really just a brand new chapter. Judaism, you guys had your time. You've run your course. Your fruit is rotten. It's time to be picked and plucked and squashed. It's time to bring in some new fruit. And so we'll begin to look at this from Pastor John MacArthur's perspective. But that'll do it for Judaism v. Christianity.